After all, Irwin has been spreading his message down at the docks. No wonder if sailors are seeing things. My cousin's ship put to sea from Anvil 3 weeks ago, Mirglim said. He did not talk to Irwin. Her father's face tightened oddly, the way it did when he was trying to hide something. Take, she said. Nothing, he replied. It's nothing to worry about. If it's dangerous, the Enzalil will meet it with the same might that drove the Empire out of Black Marsh and the Dunmer out of Morrowind. But what would a flying city want with Lil Moth? What do the Hist say? An egg asked. The spoon hesitated halfway up to her father's lips, then continued. He chewed and swallowed. Take. The city tree said it was nothing to worry about. Mirglim made a high, scratchy humming sound and fluttered his eyes. What do you mean? The city tree? He hesitated, as if he had said too much. Look, Hans Bits, Glim, an egg said. We're not visitors here, you know. He nodded. She hated how he was when he spoke straight Tamrielic. He didn't sound like himself. It's just the Hist, they are all connected. Of the same mind. So why mention the city tree in particular? Her father's eyes searched about a bit aimlessly, and he sighed again. The Enzalil in Lilmoth talk only to the city tree. What's the difference? An egg said. Like Glim said, they're all connected at the root, right? So what the city tree says is what they all say. Glim's face was like stone. Maybe not, he said. What's that mean? An egg, her father started. His voice sounded strained. When he didn't continue for a moment, she raised her hands. What, take? Thistle, this might be a good time for you to visit your aunt in Laowian. I've been thinking you ought to anyway. I went so far as to set aside money for the voyage, and there is a ship leaving at dawn. That sounds worried to me, Take. It sounds like you think something's wrong. You're all that's left of me that matters, the old man said. Even if the risk is small. He opened his hands, but would not meet her eye. Then his forehead smoothed, and he stood. I have to go. I am called to the organism this morning. I will see you tonight, and we can discuss this further. Why don't you pack, in case you decide to take the trip? For a moment she saw farther. Laowian was an ocean voyage away, but from there she could reach the Imperial City, even if all she had were her own 2 feet. Maybe. Can Glim go? I'm sorry, I've only money for one passage, he replied. I wouldn't go anyway, Glim said. Right then, her father said. I'll be off. I'll have dinner brought from the Coquina Thistle. No need to cook tonight. And we'll talk about this. Right, Take, she said. As soon as he was out of earshot, she leveled a finger at Mirglim. You go down to the docks and see what that crazy priest has to say, and anything else you can find out. I am going to Hecua S. Why Hecua S? I need to fine-tune my new invention. Your falling potion, you mean? It saved our lives, she pointed out. On a related note, Glim said, why by the rotting wells are you worried about flying at this time? How else are we going to get up on a flying island, by catapult? Ah. Mirglim sighed. Ah no. Look at me, Glim, an egg said. Slowly, reluctantly, he did so. I love you, and I'd love to have you along, but if you don't want to go, no worries. I'm not going to give you a hard time. But I'm going, Chew? He held her gaze for a moment, and then his nostrils contracted. Chew, he said. Meet you here at noon. As Mirglim followed Lilmatha's long slump to the Bay Imperials named Oleus, he felt the cloud-rippled sky gently pressing on him, on the trees, on the ancient ballast stone paving. He wondered, which is to say that he gave his mind its way, let it slip away from speech into the obscure nimbus of pure thinking. Words hammered thought into shape, put it in cages, bound it in chains. Gel, the tongue of his ancestors, was the closest speech to real thought, but even an egg, who knew as much gel as anyone not of the root, her throat couldn't make all the right sounds, couldn't shade the meanings enough for him to really converse with her.